Nana Olomu, the governor of the Benin River, was another prominent ruler who was deposed and exiled by the British. One of the 106 children of Olomu, Nana was born into nobility, affluence, and stupendous wealth around the year 1852 at Jakba in the Shekiri region. The Shekiris served as middlemen in the palm oil trade between the Yorubas and the European merchants. Nana Olomu's father would go on to establish his own village, Ebrohimi, on the Benin River. Nana grew up under the influence of his grandmother, Iweroko, and he displayed distinguishing qualities of genius, character, and enterprise. His father, having noticed these qualities, would draft him into war, and Nana helped his father in many wars. The senior Olomu would make his son the Commander General during the Eku War of 1872. He continued in this position until the death of his father in 1883. Following the death of his father, Nana Olomu would take on the mantle of leadership in 1884 without opposition from any of his peers in the land. Due to his effective control of the trade of palm oil, he was able to build his kingdom and greatly develop the capital of Ebrohimi. In 1885, he was installed into the consul area by Her Majesty Queen Victoria and was presented with a staff of office sent by the Queen. Nana Olomu signed treaties with the British government, but also struck out clauses that would have allowed them access to free trade within his kingdom. These uncooperative tendencies would serve as a precursor to the invasion of Ebrohimi in 1894. In 1891, following the creation of the Oil River Protectorate, Nana's position as governor became unnecessary, according to the British. The Protectorate was created to impose direct British rule on the natives and depose African chiefs in the area, including Nana Olomu. Before the creation of the Protectorate, Nana had a coalition with a proud British consul, George Annesley, who broke Nana's staff of office and threw one half of it into the river because, according to him, he had been in the Benin River for 7 days and was ignored by Nana. Tension began to rise and tempers would eventually set off the invasion of Ebrohimi in 1894. Nana, fully aware of the harsh treatment suffered by Jaja of Okpobo in the hands of the British, refused to attend any of the meetings to which he was invited, especially by Ralph Moore, the new commissioner for the Oil River Protectorate. Instead, he would send representatives on his behalf. Due to Nana's resistance to the British government's role in the exploitation of the Niger Delta area, the British laid siege to his town. He had an impressive military machine, enormous wealth, and great influence, all of which combined proved to be vital components in his monopoly of the palm oil trade. The resistance put up by Nana against the British in 1894 was daring and remarkably brilliant. The British, having no knowledge of the creeks which they had to sail to reach Ebrohimi and the military prowess which Nana possessed, thought the invasion was going to be a casual military one. It would turn out to be the most difficult and costly imperial conflict in West Africa. In fact, they put up one of the best British forces ever up until that time. The crisis worsened and all attempts to capture Ebrohimi by the British failed. Nana had such an impenetrable military force that on 3 occasions, he impelled the British forces to withdraw with heavy casualties. However, on September 25, 1894, Nana's capital of Ebrohimi eventually fell, mainly because Dogbo, a local rival of Nana, provided the British with logistic and intelligence support. The conflict would last for 3 months. After his defeat and escape in 1894, Ralph Moore issued a proclamation declaring Nana an outlaw and placed a bounty of £500 for his recapture. All his properties were confiscated and later sold, marking the demise of Nana's trading empire. During the attack on the town, Nana and many of his followers escaped through a secret canal and dispersed his family in different escape directions. Nana himself fled to Lagos, outsmarting the invading British force who found his abandoned canoe on the morning of September 28, 1894, only to meet his papers and documents in the canoe. While in Lagos, Nana stayed in the house of his long-time Yoruba friend, Nana Olomu, who would temporarily harbor Nana and his followers. He also wrote a petition of clemency to the governor of Lagos Colony, Sir Gilbert Carter, on behalf of Nana. While at Olomu's place, Nana contacted his bosom friend from England, George Neville. He surrendered voluntarily to Carter on October 30, 1894. However, the governor had no legal rights to detain the chief. Hence, he handed Nana over to the British Consular Court. His trial began on November 30. He was charged with and wrongfully accused of obstructing trade, terrorizing the Yoruba, waging war against Her Majesty, and engaging in slave trafficking. However, Nana Olomu's real offense was that his wealth, position, and power gave him considerable influence over the Benin River and the Warri districts, making penetration of the Benin traders difficult, if not impossible. His trial, which took place at the Consular Court in Old Calabar, had an unfair proceeding as Nana had no legal defense nor did he have any witnesses. Meanwhile, the British had 7 witnesses who testified against Nana. On December 6, 1894, Nana Olomu was found guilty by the court presided over by Sir Claude MacDonald. He was detained in Old Calabar for 2 years. The Shekiri chief was later deported and exiled for life to Accra, Gold Coast, present-day Ghana. While in Accra, Nana Olomu never allowed the circumstances to affect him. Together with his friend George Neville, they wrote petitions for clemency for his release. Nana moved on with his life in Accra and even had 3 children with his wife Mami, whom he took with him to exile. After 10 years in exile, Nana would eventually be pardoned and released to return home. There was wide jubilation as a throng of crowd welcomed him as he returned home on August 8, 1906. Chief Nana Olomu settled in New America, now known as Cocoa. A year later, together with his craftsmen, sons, relatives, and followers, he began the construction of his residence. This residence would become the famous Nana's Palace. 3 years later, in 1910, Nana completed his palace. It became a national monument in 1979, but was officially declared as such by the National Commission for Museum and Monuments on September 2, 1990. In 1916, Nana Olomu died and was survived by his over 60 children. He was 64. Of all his contemporaries who were banished by the British, Nana Olomu was the only one who returned home and died peacefully. However, one prominent ruler in Benin, Oba Ovoranwen Ogbaisi, was not so lucky as the British invaded and looted his kingdom while he was sent into exile to Calabar, where he died in 1914. You can check out the full story on the deposition of Oba Ovonramwen and the British invasion of Benin in our next episode.